This is what's coming in over the next several days, back-to-back tropical waves. Not organized, but they are healthy in the sense there's a lot of rain with them. Look at this. I was talking about this in yesterday's video, sliding toward Trinidad and Tobago, northeastern sections of Venezuela, Guyana, and Suriname. We're once again going to see the rain picking up right on the edge of it in Grenada. We had some rain overnight. I've been watching that around the clock, keeping an eye on that. So here's this area that will be sliding in. One tropical wave here, another one right behind it. So back to back, you see those deeper colors, those kind of colors that are popping up, even some of the whites. That's telling me there's really tall cloud tops. That means there's a lot of tropical moisture in this. I am concerned about the flooding in parts of Trinidad and Tobago, especially Trinidad on the south side. So thank you for sharing this channel. You don't need to subscribe. I just want the proper information out. I appreciate subscribers, but I just want the proper information out because of this. As we go over the next 2 days in particular, look at the rain in Trinidad and Tobago, the potential of it, and northeastern Venezuela. We're talking about some totals, kind of this blacker shading popping up in here in some spots. That could be around 150 millimeters of rain. That is a lot. That is the most we've seen so far this year in a 2-day period. So giving it the heads up, flooding is a potential. Again, it is not a tropical storm or a named system. We do not need that to have big issues with flooding. So the next 2 days in particular, got you covered watching this sliding in. So one tropical wave moving in right now into Trinidad and another one just back behind it right in here. So it's really back-to-back areas of rain. And then we have this, the rain still flaring up Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, and we've had some showers and storms, parts of Haiti, the DR, Cuba, and the Bahamas, watching over towards South Florida. Jamaica, more pop-up thunderstorms will be a possibility, even back through the Cayman Islands. And then another severe weather threat, especially tonight, in parts of Texas. I'll show you that in just a moment. Now let's cover this. I want to compare the American model with the European model, plus there's another round of dust moving in, so we'll cover that as well. So big areas of rain sliding in. Now what's going to happen is a lot of this moisture will be sliding its way off toward the west. Here are some of those thunderstorms. I mentioned Haiti, the DR, parts of Jamaica, Cuba, watching over toward the Florida Keys, northern Bahamas, Freeport, and New Providence. Now, as we work our way into tomorrow, St. Lucia and Barbados, most of the rain would be just to the south, watching St. Vincent the Grenadines, back toward Grenada, Trinidad again, Guyana, and Suriname. There's some of the rain to the north. There's some of the rain back toward parts of Central America. Some of this will be intense again. Some life-threatening flooding in parts of Central America. Monitoring that. We'll go over those rain totals in a moment. But a secondary tropical wave moves in on Thursday, a second tropical wave. And that's why I mentioned we're going to be get into a very active period. I was talking about this last month, that mid to late June would get active, and here we are starting to see that. Now what's going to happen is as we work our way into Sunday, a lot of this moisture shifts into the Western Caribbean. As I've been telling you, it's been more likely that instead of it shifting way to the north, it continues to shift its way to the west. There is a slight chance of a little development over toward the southern Gulf or Bay of Campeche. Right in the bay, there could be just an area to kind of monitor. I'll watch out for that. But look what happens as we get into next week. So this is a week from now. I also mentioned mid-month, the rain would be building in Belize and the Yucatan Peninsula. You see it right there. Heavy rain, Guatemala, parts of Mexico. And then we'll see more tropical waves moving in and more thunderstorms around. So an active period ahead. I'm not seeing a named system on the Atlantic Basin side at this point. Here's the European model output, and it's not showing a high chance of development. Little spot on the southwestern or really southern Caribbean of about a 40% chance of development, but that's most likely going to all shift over into the eastern Pacific. Just keeping an eye on the Bay of Campeche for a little development possible by next week. Let me show you here the European model, and then I'll show you that dust that is sliding in. Here's that rain for today. Here's Trinidad, here's Barbados. Sliding over here, here's Jamaica, watching out for scattered storms. Now high pressure dominant near Bermuda, that's keeping everything down, and that keeps everything shifting off toward the west. So instead of something, say, curling up toward Florida or the Bahamas, everything is just kind of shifting its way for the most part off toward the west, and that's why there's been a lot of development on the eastern Pacific side. Barbara and Cosme are out there. We'll slide into that in a moment as well. Now we go out on time further here. This is by Thursday. A second tropical wave moves into the southeastern Caribbean. The rain continues to build back toward parts of Central America. Heavy thunderstorms, parts of the southern U.S., and some of that could be severe. Now going out in time here further, I want to get deeper into June with the European model, which has had a good handle on the season so far. This would be by the upcoming weekend. By Saturday, just that moisture feeding in across, moving off toward the east. There's that area of high pressure, and that keeps everything down for the most part. So that would allow that chance of development to slide over toward the eastern Pacific side. Now going out in time here even further as we work our way deeper into next week. So this is over a week from now. We're talking about Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Seeing this rain sliding over here. A slight chance that some of this sneaks into the Bay of Campeche. I'll monitor that, and then more tropical waves moving in with more thunderstorms. And then we'll start to really monitor for anything trying to spin up into a named system, especially as we get deeper into June. At some point, we're going to start to get some named systems out there. I got you covered right here on this channel, no doubt. Now, getting a look at here, this is the dust that's been moving in. I've been watching your comments from yesterday. There were some thick dust in spots, Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, Puerto Rico. That dust sliding all the way across, getting mixed into some of the rain over toward the Corn Islands, Providencia and San Andres. And then by Thursday and Friday, you see how it swings up toward the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica will have some of that dust, and then squeaking into Florida, although it's not going to be as dense as the last round. But if you have any breathing issues, no doubt you feel anything extra in the air. If you have asthma or anything like that, it'll be a little bit worse with the dust moving in. Now, Barbara and Cosme out here. This is Barbara. This is Cosme. I've been showing you this will stay away from the Mexican coast. That is exactly what's happening. More rain sliding off of Costa Rica, Panama. Barbara falling apart. Cosme also falling apart. So then as we get down the road, as all of this moisture from the Caribbean and Central America slides across, by the time we get into the weekend, there could be a little development here. I'll monitor another spot that should develop back behind Barbara and Cosme. Sometimes when it's very active on the eastern Pacific side, it's not as active on the Atlantic side. As you go through the hurricane season, though, that switches around at times. So I'll be watching those long-term trends. Here's what's left of Barbara as it lifts up toward the Baja. It falls apart. Cosme will be falling apart as we go throughout the day, also lifting to the north into some cooler water. Now, here's that system that is bringing some of that rain back toward New England today. Ontario, Quebec seeing some of that rain. This here, little sneaky severe weather threat, right? Coming out of New Mexico into Texas. You see this here tonight. Some of this will drive in. Severe weather threat. Not a large area, but right in here, especially western areas of Texas into parts of northern Mexico. Severe weather threat. And then by tomorrow, watching Texas again, even parts of Oklahoma, in parts of Mexico for a severe weather threat that'll mainly be pinned down here. Then as we work our way deeper into the week, this is by Thursday, another system starts to ride closer toward the Great Lakes, watching out for more severe weather, at least some stronger storms back toward parts of the southern U.S. Seas are going to stay choppy. I'll show you those high rain totals in just a second, but with that new tropical wave moving in, the Atlantic passageways are going to be bumpier the next few days, and the Caribbean as a whole. Nothing too terribly rough, but we could run 2 to 3 meters, mainly south side of Jamaica. That's where we'll see some of those higher seas building, and then we'll see that spreading across the Caribbean as the week goes on. Now, some higher totals, keeping an eye on near the northern Bahamas, Cuba, parts of South Florida. We'll watch out for some big thunderstorms that will be around. Look at Cuba with some repeat storms the next few days. We're going to have some totals over 100 millimeters of rain. Flooding possible, severe weather possible in parts of Cuba. Hit or miss Cayman Islands and Jamaica. But if we get a downpour, say in Jamaica, it could be on the heavy side. We've seen that the last few days, not widespread. Some of us have gotten some rain. Others, we need to get some rain in here. Same thing from Haiti, the DR, scattered areas of storms. And then swinging back toward Puerto Rico, U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Rain chance not as high still in Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, for example. Some dust around. Most of the action has been to the south. Right here, you see back toward Trinidad. This is what I zoomed down to earlier, northeastern Venezuela and near Grenada. Some of our southern islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that's where there could be some heavier rain. But St. Lucia, Barbados, mainly south. But still a chance of some rain popping up, passing by St. Lucia and Barbados the next few days, but this is the really heavy stuff. Over 150 millimeters of rain skirting northern Guyana and northern sections of Suriname right into northeastern Venezuela. And I gave you the heads up right off the bat of the potential of flooding the next 2 days in parts of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, the flooding rolls on. I really appreciate your comments. I've been watching those coming out of Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, parts of Honduras, extreme eastern zones, extreme western zones, very heavy rain again. Guatemala and El Salvador, so that life-threatening flooding continues, mudslides and very dangerous rivers and spots. And then eventually, deeper into the month, as I showed you, Belize, our rain chance will be going up. Scattered areas of rain will be building, especially in a couple days around parts of Mexico. And there's some of that moisture with that severe weather threat driving into parts of Texas where there could be upwards of 4 or 5 inches of rain and some of these supercells that really develop in that really big pocket of some storms that develops tonight and pushes down toward the south. Southern U.S., of course, watching out for some of those thunderstorms. So 40% chance of scattered storms the next 3 days across Jamaica, and we have a 40% chance across the Cayman Islands. So it's not super high, but it's higher than what we had a couple weeks ago where we were so dry. Of course, there's that high chance of rain today. Trinidad and Tobago, especially southern zones, a 90% chance, an 80% chance for tomorrow. Meanwhile, Barbados, 20 to maybe 30% chance by tomorrow, and a 30 pushing 40% chance in St. Lucia. Heaviest rain is just down to the south, and we are monitoring some of that dust around. But Grenada, rain chance about 60%. Some of that's already panned out because we had some of the rain from overnight. 40 to 50% chance St. Vincent and the Grenadines, southern islands, better chance of getting some of that rain with that tropical wave moving in. Martinica, 30% chance, a 30% chance the next 2 days with some dust around in Dominica, and a 30% chance will hold the next 3 days in Guadeloupe. Rain chance about 20 to 30%, Antigua and Barbuda. Just a 20% chance, St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat. Anguilla, St. Bart's running at about a 10% chance. Same thing, St. Martin, Saba, and Statia, drier for us in the northeastern Caribbean. Isolated storms are on. While it's not widespread in Puerto Rico, some of those could be strong and still holding on to about a 20% chance. St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix over toward Tortola, U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Now, as we get back toward the Bahamas, best chance of rain, northern Bahamas. Some of that rain around South Florida, the Florida Keys, clipping by the northern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, a 20% chance. 50% chance, some of this could be some flooding rain, watching the river crossings across the Dominican Republic. Haiti, our rain chance is going to bump up some tomorrow and Thursday, a 40% chance of some scattered showers and storms. Belize, a 30% chance as of now, but we are going to see that building rather soon. Aruba, it's going to build as well because we're going to see those tropical waves moving across. So a higher chance of rain. Look at Curacao and Bonaire by Thursday. We're going to be up to about a 50% chance. So watching the ABC Islands, Guyana, especially extreme northern zones. Same thing in Suriname. Northern sections, that much better chance of rain, but especially Guyana right along the water as we go throughout the day today. And there's that storm chance increasing. 50 to 60% chance right across Cuba with those big time thunderstorms. Costa Rica and Panama, 90 to about 100% chance of rain. Most of us will get some rain, a lot of microclimates, so a few of us in Costa Rica and Panama will not, but a lot of us will. Nicaragua, watching out for that flood potential, and we'll be seeing that, I mentioned, in spots of Honduras, far eastern zones, far western zones, that higher chance of rain. Guatemala and El Salvador, some dangerous flooding will continue. And you see there in Mexico City by Thursday, rain chance up to 60% as it builds, 30 to 40% chance the next few days across the Yucatan Peninsula, Merida and Cozumel. Northern Colombia, 40 to 50% chance it will be building. And no doubt, especially northeastern Venezuela. That's where we have that higher chance of rain. Meanwhile, with high pressure nearby in Bermuda, most of the action up to the north, down to the south, or off to the west. So a tropical wave moving in. That flood threat is getting higher, not just around Central America, but also in the southeastern Caribbean, and watching areas of dust. And I'll monitor for any signs of development. So thank you for sharing this information, and be safe with any of that heavy rain. Have a good day ahead.